McLean throws high. He's safe. The Trojans walk it off. Guy's been out. Slow miss. Taking a shot to the end zone. St. Brown's got it.
Wait, Sam, where's Eli? Our show is literally starting.
Eli, wake up. It's Rivalry Week.
Roll the tape.
Anderson has to get it in. Edie from the corner. He got it.
Going out to McCall.
McLean throws high. He's safe. The Trojans walk it off. Guy's been out. Slow miss. Taking a shot to the end zone. St. Brown's got it. Matthews on the high screen. Step back. Matthews nails it.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Sports Scene. I'm Nicole Shearin along Sam Reno and Eli Kleinmann. And like Sam said, it's officially Rivalry Week. USC gears up for the biggest game of the season against, well, the other LA school. Head coach Andy Enfield on the matchup.
Everybody knows what this game means. It's a rivalry game. It's at home, and we're 20-4, and they're 16-4 going into tonight's game. So, two ranked basketball teams, the city of Los Angeles, and it'll be a fun atmosphere. We're looking forward to it.
All right, guys, I know we have a lot of built-up emotion, so let's just get it all out now. Who brings home the win in the 256th edition of the Crosstown Showdown? Sam, what do you think?
USC. And here's why. The book on this team all year has been they haven't played anybody. They haven't been tested. Well, last weekend they went on the road to Arizona and were tested and hung in blow for blow with a top 10 team on the road. Despite shooting 23% from three and Arizona shooting 40 and them completely collapsing down the stretch. Sure, there's been inconsistencies at times down the stretch, but they're going to have to play better, right? You have to believe they're better than 1 for 15 in the final 5 minutes of a basketball game. You get a little bit better of a performance, and you know they'll get up for the game because they proved it down in Tucson. I think they get it done.
What's going to make us believe that they're going to get better? They haven't shown it all year. Frankly, this team has been inconsistent, and they lost that game in Arizona because of those inconsistencies. They scored 3 points in the last 6 minutes after having the lead, and that's been the same trend we've seen all season. In the first half of that game, they scored 28 points. Last night against Pacific, one of the worst teams in college basketball, 22 points in the first half. Those inconsistencies will cost the Trojans. They haven't been able to score enough, and as good as their defense is, it won't be able to slow down UCLA to the point it needs in order to win that game at home.
Eli, you just nailed it on the head. Do you guys remember the Stanford game? In the last seconds of the game, we could not convert a simple 3-point to get the dub. The Bruins swept Stanford, and while the Trojans got swept, so this is not last year with Taj and Evan Mobley, who put on a show in the final seconds. The clutch factor is just missing for the Trojans.
I mean, if we want to compare common opponents here, how about we offer up an Arizona State overtime loss for UCLA? I believe USC is 2-0 against Arizona State. And we want to talk about proving it. How about Mick Cronin prove it? He took the job in 2019 and still 0-4 against USC. That's with fans, that's without fans. That's with the Triple J's, without the Triple J's. Paulie, Galen. Mick Cronin has not proven he can win this rivalry game.
You're not wrong, but USC hasn't proven they can beat a quality opponent this season. They have one quad one win this year. That's against Washington State on the road. Besides that, nothing. They have as many quad 3 losses as they do quad 1 wins. That's a concern. UCLA has shown they can beat good opponents. They went to Wisconsin, beat Marquette. They hosted Villanova, beat them. Hosted Arizona, beat them. Does USC have a win over Arizona? I don't think so. And that USC team almost lost last night to the 297th ranked team in the nation. That's out of 358 teams. Pacific is that bad, and USC was trailing by double digits in the second half.
Almost lost, was trailing, didn't at the end of the game is the big story there. And what is the Villanova game, the Marquette game, the Arizona game? What do those have in common? Those are big games. And you know what USC has? Big game boogie. And I'm going all the way back to high school. 36 points on San Diego Prep Sports giant Torrey Pines High School. And in an NIT championship game, he dropped 27 points, leading Memphis to that title last year. He scored 20-plus against Houston in an AAC semifinal that they only lost by 2 to a Houston team that made the Final Four. When the lights are the brightest, Boogie gets up for the game, and he'll do the exact same thing at Galen Center on Saturday.
Please, Sam. Most of the games you mentioned were Boogie in high school. This is college basketball. This is top 25 college basketball. Boogie Ellis has great games where he puts up 20-plus, and then he has games where he puts up 2. Against Arizona, its biggest game of the season for USC, he scored 8 points. That's just not going to cut it on Saturday. That's the problem with Boogie Ellis. You're searching for an X factor that simply does not exist on this team. There is no Taj Edey, and Boogie Ellis certainly isn't him.
No, Boogie Ellis isn't him, and right now it's really Mobley and everyone else for this Trojan squad. I mean, we saw it last night against Pacific. Mobley was out with a facial fracture, and while they barely beat a team who only has won 7 games this season. Also, guys, we need to talk about the Double J's with the Bruins. Johnny Juzang and Jaquez Jr. continue to perform and wreak absolute havoc on the court. They're bullies in the paint, 11 rebounds for Jaquez and 10 for Juzang against Arizona State. Not to mention, both of these guys racked in a total 37 points against Stanford last night. So you can't look at these stats and not think that it is a no-brainer. Bruins in the bag.
No brainer. Let's look at USC's losses real quick, right? They've all come against a few teams that have a size advantage on them. Arizona, Stanford, and Oregon bullied them down low. UCLA has 9 players playing double-digit minutes a night. Only 2 of them are 6'9" or taller, and their tallest player, in Miles Johnson, at 6'11", is only playing 18. The majority of this Bruins squad is 6'6" and under, and if you watch any national telecast, they'll tell you that USC length is going to feast against UCLA.
The simple truth is, though, Sam, USC can't score enough to win that game. Maybe it stays close until the end, but if it does, USC's free throw woes are going to probably cost it anyway. USC simply does not have the offense to compete with this UCLA team. Nicole mentioned 2 J's. What about the third? Jules Bernard can score the basketball as well. Tiger Campbell has played well this season. UCLA has too many weapons on offense, where USC maybe has one.
Guys, all I have to say is the clutch factor is missing for the Trojans, and they're not finding it Saturday. But this isn't the only high-stakes showdown in Los Angeles. Over at SoFi Stadium, the Bengals and Rams battle it out this Super Bowl Sunday. So who takes home the Lombardi Trophy? Eli, what do you think?
It's the Rams. The Rams are going to hold that trophy in their home stadium on Sunday afternoon because their defense is going to be what slows down the Bengals offense finally. That defensive line is going to feast on the Bengals offensive line, a team that gave up 9 sacks to Tennessee. And the Rams defensive line is better. It has Aaron Donald, maybe the best defensive tackle we've ever seen. Von Miller, a player who's won a Super Bowl MVP. And don't forget about Leonard Floyd coming off the other side. That's just so much for the Bengals offensive line to deal with, something they have been unable to do for most of the season.
Yeah, I think the line stops here with this Bengals team. They were 4-5 in the regular season in one-score games, and they've strung together 3 in a row in this postseason. And that secondary, you just cannot expect them to hold up for a 4th game in a row. And sure, props to Jesse Bates and Von Bell. They've played extremely well this postseason. But, oh, wait, what's that? I think Eli Apple just got blown by again. You cannot win a Super Bowl with this guy starting at cornerback. There's no shot. This secondary is going to regress. This defense is going to regress. And that Rams offense is going to feast.
I think you guys are forgetting about the power of Joe Burrow. He comes into the home of the Chiefs, AFC Championship, wins that game against Patrick Mahomes, who is the next Tom Brady in the NFL football. Yes, Aaron Donald and Von Miller, they're going to give him trouble. But Burrow gets the ball out quickly. He caught on to that against the Chiefs and was only sacked once. Not to mention, McPherson goes 4 for 4. The kickers earned their money, and the Bengals are bringing it home.
We're talking about kickers, Nicole. That means the game has to be close for kickers to come into the equation. Sure, if McPherson has a kick to win the Super Bowl, I'm picking him to make it, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Rams are going to blow it open. They have Jalen Ramsey on the back end to deal with Jamar Chase. That might not stop Chase, but it'll at least be enough to slow him down. And the Rams have the best receiver in the NFL in Cooper Kupp this season. He's been dynamic, so hard to stop even when teams focus on him, and if they do, that leaves Odell Beckham Jr., one of the other best receivers in the NFL, with one-on-one coverage.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. Not only the best receiver in the NFL, but probably the best number 2 in Odell Beckham. This Rams offense is going to put up a load of points on this Bengals secondary. And that Rams defense with Ramsey, with the talented pass rush, is going to be able to keep the Bengals offense down enough that the Rams could just blow this wide open.
But I just really think you guys are forgetting that, like Joe Burrow said, pressure is privilege, and he thrives in this stage. He brought LSU to a national championship. He's back in this stage on Sunday. He's going to join Roethlisberger, Wilson, and Brady as getting that Lombardi trophy in his second showing in the NFL. So Burrow's ice cold, and he's bringing that cold all the way to that win on Sunday.
I'm going to pull a page out of Eli's book real quick. We're talking about games in college, a college national championship. You can throw those out if you ask me. This is the NFL. This is the Super Bowl. This is the pros. It's a different stage, and Joe Burrow is not ready for it.
You mentioned cold Joe Burrow. He's going to need some cold ice packs after this one, after the amount of times he gets hit by that defensive line. It should be an intriguing matchup, but got the Rams all day. Now back to USC sports. USC women's basketball has already begun its 3-game week starting in Salt Lake. They tipped off at 1 p.m. today. It's a huge week for USC, who has lost 6 straight, including a couple heartbreakers to Oregon State 2 weeks ago and to Cal on Friday. They need to turn it around and pick up their first road win of the season.
But you know what? That's all we have for Sports Scene. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @AndMediaSports. And don't forget, we're here every Wednesday. So see you next time.